Welcome dear audience, students and scholars. Here I am Dr. Amjad Ali. In this video I will explain the concept of multicollinearity. In this video we will learn about the definitions of multicollinearity, the deduction methods for the multicollinearity, kinds of the multicollinearity, and the removal methods for the multicollinearity. Dear scholars, as we know that one of the main assumptions of OLS is that there is no correlation between the explanatory variables. You can call the independent variables have no correlation with one another, and if the independent variables have correlation with one another, so this is known as multicollinearity. Here we have mentioned that an implicit assumption is that made when using the OLS estimation method is that the explanatory variables are not correlated with one another. And if there is no relationship between the explanatory variable, they would be said to be orthogonal to one another. If the explanatory variables were orthogonal to one another, adding or removing a variable from a regression equation would not cause the values of the coefficient on the other variable to change. Like we have a regression model y is equal to alpha plus beta x1 plus beta 2 x2. Okay, like that. If our explanatory variables are orthogonal, so by removing x2 or by removing x1, the coefficient beta 1 and beta 2 will not normally change. So if they change, there may be the issue of the multicollinearity. If they not change, then we can call it orthogonal and there is no issue of the multicollinearity. Okay, a problem occurs when explanatory variables are very highly correlated with one another or each other, and this problem is known as multicollinearity. Okay, consequences of the multicollinearity. When there is multicollinearity in among our explanatory variable, the estimates of the OLS coefficient may be imprecise in the sense that large standard error lead to wider confidence interval. Affected coefficients may fail to attain statistical significance due to low t-statistic, which may lead to us to wrongly drop an inferential variable from our regression model. And the sign of the coefficient, estimated coefficient, may be opposite of those we are expecting. So if there is a multicollinearity, then if we are expecting that the sign of independent variable x1 is positive, but when we estimate its coefficient, then the sign of x1 is negative, then there may be the chance that we have a multicollinearity between x1 and x2 or x1 and or x3. Okay, the addition or deletion of a few observations may result in substantial changes in the estimated coefficient. If we have a wide range of data from x1 and x2 like that, so we have a time series like we have a time series data, and if we remove some of the observation from x1, so if the coefficients are not changing, then there is no chance of less chance, you can say less chance of multicollinearity between x1 and x2. Okay, there are two main types of multicollinearity. First one is the perfect multicollinearity, second one is the imperfect multicollinearity or near multicollinearity. Let's explain the perfect multicollinearity. Perfect multicollinearity occurs when there is an exact relationship between the two or more variables. In this case, it is not possible to estimate all of the coefficients in the model. Perfect multicollinearity will be usually observed only when the same explanatory variable is unintentionally used twice in a regression. To understand the multicollinearity, consider we have a model here. We have y is equal to beta 1 plus beta 2 x2 plus beta 3 x3 plus u. Here we have a simple multiple linear regression model. Here we have two independent variable x2 and x3. So where we are hypothetical, assume that x2 and x3 are independent variable, and we have the data of x1, x2 and x3 here. So see here we can easily observe that x3, if we multiply x2 by 2, then we get the x3. So this means that x3 is the linear, you can say that the linear multiplication of x2. So this information the information provided by x3 is not distinct from x2, because x3 is generated from x2. Okay, this is because we have seen that x3 is an exact linear function of x2. So this shows that there is a multicollinearity issue in our data. Okay, when this situation occurs, x2 and x3 are said to be linear dependent, which implies that x2 and x3 are perfectly collinear. More formally, two variables x2 and x3 are linearly depend if one variable can be expressed as a linear function of the other variable. If both x3 and x2 were used as an explanatory variable in the same regression, like we have mentioned here, like if we are using x2 and x3 in the same regression, then the model parameters cannot be estimated. They gone a bias estimators. Since the two variables are perfectly related to one another together, they contain only enough information to estimate one parameter or not two. Technically, the difficulty would occur in trying to convert when we are converting x multiplied by x transpose, or you can say that x prime matrix, since it would not be a full rank. You can say that two of the column would not be linearly depend on one another. So that the inverse of x transpose and x would not exist, and hence the OL estimates beta hat is equal to beta x multiplied by x prime whole inverse multiplied by xy could not be calculated. So this technically this is the main assumptions, that the estimated beta is equal to the actual beta. So this will not happen. So that's why the multicollinearity will not enable us to fulfill our assumption actual beta is equal to estimated beta. Consequences of perfect multicollinearity. Perfect multicollinearity will usually be observed only when the same explanatory variable is unintentionally used twice in a regression. The consequences of perfect multicollinearity are extremely serious, but perfect multicollinearity seldom arises with actual data. This is normally a rare case when we have to face perfect multicollinearity. The occurrence of perfect multicollinearity often results from correctable mistakes such as the dummy variable trap, or including if we include the log of x and x square in the same equation, we are using the ln model as an independent variable, and x square is also as an explanatory variable. So this create a perfect multicollinearity in our model. Okay, under perfect multicollinearity, no estimation method can provide us unique estimates for the population parameters. Okay, here we have the second type of the multicollinearity, that is near multicollinearity or imperfect multicollinearity. Okay, imperfect multicollinearity exists when the explanatory variable in an equations are correlated, but this correlation is less than perfect relation. Imperfect multicollinearity is such or you can say that is much more likely to occur in practice and would arise when there are not negligible but not perfect relationship between two or more of the explanatory variables. So normally when we are using the macro level data, so there are chances of imperfect or near multicollinearity. Okay, note that a high correlation between the dependent variable and one of the independent variable is not always known as a multicollinearity. Normally we cannot say that if our dependent variable or independent variable are correlated. So this doesn't mean that they are there is a multicollinearity. This may be another issue, but we cannot interpret as a multicollinearity. Okay, visually we could not think of the difference between the near and a perfect multicollinearity as follow that. Suppose that you have a variable x2t and x3t were highly correlated, and if we produce a scatter plot of x2 and x3 against then perfect multicollinearity will correspond to all of the point lying exactly on a straight line, while imperfect multicollinearity would correspond to the point lying close to the line, and the closer they were to the line, the stronger would be the relationship between the two variables. Like we have here x3 and x2 are independent variable, and if we plot them, like if the graphical presentation look like this, we can call it a strong or perfect multicollinearity. And if the graphical presentation between x2 and x3 would like that, so we can call it a near multicollinearity, weak multicollinearity, or imperfect multicollinearity. Okay, measuring near or perfect multicollinearity. Testing for the multicollinearity is a surprisingly very difficult task, but the simplest method is correlation matrix. If the regression model include 3 explanatory variables or independent variable, it is the pairwise correlation which decide the existence or non-existence of multicollinearity among the explanatory variable. For example, here we have x dependent variable and A dependent variable, and B and C and D are independent variable. And here we see that the correlation between A and the other explanatory variable. Here we see that the dependent variable D has a very high correlation and C has a high correlation, but B has a very you can say the weak correlation with A. But this column does not present there is a multicollinearity. Here you see that the relationship between the B and D is 0.6. It is not so high, 0.76. It's normally, it is also not known. This is a very not a high relationship between C and D like this. So this present there is a no issue of the multicollinearity. But if we have like this type of relationship that you see here, we have 0.96 correlation between C and D. So here we can interpret that C and D has a multicollinearity issue. So it is the correlation matrix which enable us to overview the existence and non-existence of multicollinearity among our explanatory variable. So see, here is not a strong correlation between our explanatory variables, so we can say that there is a no issue of multicollinearity. But here we have a strong correlation between C and D. We can call it there is a multicollinearity issue in our model, or you can say that between our explanatory variable D and C. Okay, problems if near or imperfect multicollinearity is present but we ignore it. First, R square will be high, but individual coefficient will have a high standard error, so that the regression look like it is a good as a whole, but the individual variables are not significant. Like we have a model here, like we have y dependent variable. Here we have constant beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2, so on. So if we have a r estimated r square which is very high for our, like we have a 0.09, so this means that our overall independent variables have a very good explanatory power, but our beta 1 or beta 2 are insignificant. So this create the issue of the multicollinearity between x2, x3 or x1 and x2. This arises in the context of very closely related explanatory variable as a consequences of you can say that the difficulty to observing the individual contribution of each variable to the overall fit of the regression. Second, the regression become very sensitive to small changes in the specification, so that adding or removing an explanatory variable leads to a large change in the coefficient value or significance of the variable. So if we have the multicollinearity in our model, then by adding or by removing variable in this model, the R square will also changes. So this will create the issue of the multicollinearity. Okay, finally, near multicollinearity will thus make confidence interval for the parameters very wide, and significance tests might therefore give inappropriate conclusion, and on the basis of these results we cannot make the correct inferences, or we cannot make the you can say that reasonable policy implications in the presence of the multicollinearity in our model. Okay, solution to the problems of multicollinearity. The first one, keep it in mind that the multicollinearity is a sample issue, not the population issue. When you are using the whole population in your analysis, then you can completely ignore the multicollinearity issue. So keep it in mind that the multicollinearity issue is a sample issue, not a population issue. Draw one of the collinear variables. So like that we are explaining in our correlation matrix. If we see that D and C are highly correlated, so it is better for the solution of the multicollinearity, you have to remove one of the independent or one of the explanatory variable from your model. So this will solve the issue of the multicollinearity in your model. Okay, next you have to transfer the highly correlated variables into ratio form. You can take the log of your variables, or you can select the data of those variables in a ratio form or in a growth form, so the multicollinearity issue can be resolved. Okay, near multicollinearity is a problem with the data than the model. So normally it is when we increase the number of observation for our model, then the multicollinearity issue can be easily resolved, while when we are indulged in a near multicollinearity issue. So keep it in mind that while increasing the number of observation, near multicollinearity or imperfect multicollinearity automatically be removed. Okay, more important, or the last solution is that ignore it. So keep it in mind that more of the macroeconomic variables are highly correlated, or that are nearly correlated, or you can say that somehow macroeconomic variables are correlated with one another. So when we are using the macroeconomic variables, so a number of econometricians and statisticians suggest that ignore the multicollinearity if it is not highly correlated or not presenting the high correlation among the variables. So keep it in mind that macroeconomic variables somehow correlated with one another. So it is the best solution for the macroeconomic variable is to ignore the multicollinearity. Okay, this is all about the multicollinearity. See you with another video. Ciao.